All right, welcome to our first video lesson. This one's going to be a review of order of operations. This one's going to go right along with the note packet that you picked up at materials pickup. It's the very last page in this packet. We're actually going to do part of it today as kind of review, and then we'll come back to the rest of it here later this month. But you want to find a page that looks like this, just like my screen, order of operations. Our lesson is going to cover just this first page, and then we're going to add a little bit on to the blank page that's hiding right there in your notes. We're going to save this last page till we get to it later in the month, later in the unit. We're going to do kind of the first part of it as a review. So as you are taking notes and as we're working our way through the lesson, you'll see all the information's there for you. All of this information is being filled in. You're not skipping over things, you're not skimming on things. As you're taking notes, you're making sure you get down all the important information, even the stuff you think you might already know. Writing it down helps us hold on to it even better, and we're even more secure with that information as time goes on. So let's go ahead and get started. The order of operations, or from elementary school we call it PEMDAS, but now that we're in junior high we can be a little more precise with it. So it's not just parentheses anymore. Our first step is grouping symbols. Parentheses, brackets. As we get to integers, it'll also be things like absolute value, anything that kind of goes around a group of numbers to tell us to tackle that first. So get this written down in your notes. First we're going to do anything inside of the grouping symbols. Then we're going to find the value of any exponents. So remember, exponents are those little raised up numbers. Remember, it tells us how many threes we want to multiply. So 3 to the second power is really 3 times 3. 2 3s are being multiplied. Over on the right, you're going to see a little pyramid. That's to kind of help us. So our first step is our grouping symbols, our parentheses. Then we have any exponents are going to come next. Next is going to be any multiplication and division. So we might put multiply and then we put divide, but it's really whichever one comes first in the problem. It can go from left to right. So if division happens to show up first in the problem, we'll tackle that first. Multiplication comes first, we'll tackle that. And then we're going to finish with any addition or subtraction. So this time I'm going to write the subtraction first and the addition because it's not about the order that I set it in. It's about the order that it shows up in the problem. When we get to addition and subtraction, again, we're just going to go from left to right. Whichever those two happen to show up first, we're going to tackle that first. So get all that jotted down in your notes, and then let's go. So quick review from last year. Multiplication, we're all very familiar with the multiplication sign, but more often than not, that's going to start to become a variable for us this year, so we want to get away from that. So you might see it as just a dot. Sometimes you still see it as kind of like that little asterisk. And then sometimes you're going to see it where a number is right next to a set of parentheses. When a number is right next to the parentheses, that really means 3 times whatever was in that parentheses. For division, that one's a little more straightforward. Here you might still see your traditional division sign, or you might see your slash for division, but those are all different ways of showing division in a problem. When you solve your using our order of operations, we want to see it line by line by line. No taking shortcuts, no doing steps in your head. Someone else should be able to see step by step how you worked your way through that problem. So I'm going to start with parentheses first. 3 plus 6 is 9. Everything else in the problem is just going to slide straight down. So I've tackled that part. I'm done with parentheses. There are no exponents in this one, so it's a nice easy one. So now I'm going to multiply or divide. In this case, I only have division, so I'm going to do that. 81 divided by 9 is 9. So that part's done, but I still have minus 5 plus 3. Now I'm down to adding and subtracting. Again, adding and subtracting, you do it whatever comes first. In this case, subtraction was first. 9 minus 5 is 4. And that part's done. 4 plus 3 is 7, and I get a total answer of 7. But I want to see that line by line by line all the way through to the end to see how you got to that answer. All right, so I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to do 2 more problems together, but they are not the next 2 on that next page in your packet. Those involve some negatives. We're not going to get into those yet. So you have 2 choices. Either you can flip to the back of the packet, the back of the packet is blank, and you can do the two problems there. Or the notes page you were just on, if you look right in front of it in your note packet, it's right there. If you happen to be just doing this on your own sheet of notebook paper, that's fine. Just go on to the next spot on your page. This is only for those who are doing it in their note packet. All right, so pause for a second, jot this problem down, and then we're going to tackle it together. All right, I'm going to put myself a little cheat sheet over here to remind me of my steps, and I like to use it kind of like a checklist. I start at the top, and I just kind of knock off each of those things as I work my way down. So I want to start in the parentheses first, so over here. But you notice in the parentheses, I have both exponents and subtraction. So when you're inside of parentheses, think of it as kind of like a mini order of operations problem. I still have to follow order of operations. So I'm going to do the exponent first. 3 to the second power is really 3 times 3, which is 9. And I'm going to rewrite all the rest of the problem. I'm still not done in the parentheses, so the parentheses are still there. I'm still on that parentheses step. 9 minus 5 is 4. And I just kind of rewrite everything else. It all just slides down. Now I'm done with parentheses. Now I'm going to go back for any other exponents. So I have an exponent here, 4 to the second power. 4 to the second power is really 4 times 4, which is 16. So I'm going to rewrite everything else here. And yeah, some of these longer problems are going to take quite a bit of work. That's okay, but I still want to see that work step by step by step. Oh, sorry, this should be a slash for division then. I'm done with exponent, so now I'm going to multiply or divide. In this case, I do whatever comes first. Division came first. 64 divided by 16 is 4, plus 7 times 8 divided by 4. I'm going to keep multiplying and dividing, but from left to right. 7 times 8 is 56, divided by 4, plus 4. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I still multiply or finish any multiplying or dividing, so I have some division here. 56 divided by 4 is 14, plus 4. Last step is now I can go ahead and add them together and get my answer of 18, which is following step by step by step all the way to the end. All right, so let's add a little more challenging one. Take a second, jot it down, and then let's work our way through it. All right, you'll notice in this one we have parentheses. So we're going to start inside of that, but we have parentheses inside of that. So they're called nested parentheses. So basically think of it as you start on the farthest on the inside and then work your way out in layers until you've tackled all of your parentheses. So we're going to start inside. 6 minus 2 is 4. Some of you may have been tempted to do 2 to the second power, but notice that 2 is outside of the parentheses, meaning you have to do the parentheses first and then come back and tackle this one. So that exponent is just going to be on whatever came out of those parentheses. Now I'm going to rewrite everything else. And now I'm going to finish in those parentheses. So I've done one set, now I'm going to do the larger set. In the parentheses, I'm still following order of operations, so exponents are going to come first. 4 to the second power is 16. I'm going to rewrite the rest of it. Now I'm going to finish in the parentheses with my adding and subtracting. Again, for adding and subtracting, you just go from left to right. 25 plus 16, that's going to be 30, 41. My parentheses are still there because I'm not done with those parentheses. 41 minus 8, finish in the parentheses, is 33. So my parentheses are gone because I've done all the work inside the parentheses. And now I'm ready to finish out the problem. 33 divided by 11 is 3. But I'm just following step by step by step and rewriting my way through so that someone else can follow that work all the way to the end.